Welcome, welcome. Next up, we have Damian Bradfield. He's the president and chief marketing officer of WeTransfer, running the company's office in LA. Damian played a pivotal part in building WeTransfer into the leading, much-loved creative brand that it is today. WeTransfer was founded in Amsterdam in 2009 and now has over 40 million active users from all over the world, transferring over 1 billion files every month. Please welcome to the Tech Open Air stage, Damian Bradfield.
Wow. Hello. I'm going to see if I can get my first slide up. Here we go. When you first meet someone, and probably I get this more than a lot of you, but when you first meet someone for the first time, it's quite common that people would ask where you're from. Now, I get this a lot because of my mongrel accent. If I smile, which I rarely do, you can tell that I'm English just from the state of my teeth. I was born in England. I've lived in London, Johannesburg, Cape Town, and I now live in Los Angeles. And Los Angeles has proved to be a massive inspiration for many reasons, but mostly because it's probably the most infamous boomtown on Earth. Oh, here we go. Slides broke for a little second. And we're down. The images only tell you a small story, a small part of what's happening. So LA is probably the most infamous boomtown on Earth. And all boomtowns are built on promises. LA was built on the promise of gold. In 1842, gold was discovered. And then it was discovered again in 1849. And then in 1897, oil was discovered. And you have to imagine, at the center of LA, there were over 500 oil wells spewing out oil. And the picture that you see up here is Venice Beach. Now, some cities simmer, LA exploded and then burnt out numerous times. Los Angeles grew from 120,000 inhabitants to 1.2 million. And in the same time period, San Francisco just grew from 342,000 to 634. People flood to boomtowns because they're hungry, so they crave something. Ambitious hustlers came to LA to get their hands on gold, precious resources, precious goods, and they grabbed at resources. Now, I live in that city, but it doesn't actually matter where you live, because we here are all neighbors of sorts, but neighbors in another boomtown. And some of you loathe it here, and some of you love it. And our boomtown is the World Wide Web. And in our boomtown, a similar scramble is underway. New prospectors are after a new finite resource. LA had oil and gold, and we've got data. And the web has been flooded with prospectors. Now, my goal here is not to try to talk down or to denigrate the prospector, especially when it comes to our boomtown, because I suspect everyone in this room would love to be called a web pioneer. But there's a very big difference between a pioneer and a prospector. I don't know if you know the difference, but a pioneer is someone who set out with the original premise of settling, of creating, of building. And a prospector, is somebody who set out with a very single goal in mind, and that is to dig, to exploit. And most of them had their head down as they were looking for precious minerals. So the question is, were you pioneering with the likes of Sir Tim Berners-Lee 25 years ago, attempting to build a World Wide Web based on this utopian principle of openness and trust? I wasn't. I was observing it. I was too young, as you can see. I was just observing the rush. Were you there in the 2000s when we went through the boom and the bust? I wasn't either. Perhaps you're an architect, helping to build the superhighways, the server foundations, and carving out our new cityscape in our boomtown. The majority of us here today, me included, are not. The majority of us in this room are responsible for part of our boomtown, the 988 million websites that make up the web. So if we are all part of building this boomtown, are we also doing our part to build a place of trust, community, to prevent the next bust? And I'm sure that many of you in this room are web pioneers, that you are building something fantastic, because there are some great examples in our boomtown of amazing pioneering. Wikipedia, Mozilla, even companies like Craigslist and Kickstarter are fantastic examples of where the web has spread thanks to open standards. And this is where the web really fulfills its potential. But they remain just little neighborhoods. If we step back and we look at the city from a whole, with a bird's eye view, we can see that it's just not working. Not as it should, not as it could. And why is that? Now, we know that boomtowns sprawl. Every boomtown is pretty much the same, doesn't matter where you are. And speculators are also pretty much the same, don't generally stick around to leave a lasting legacy. They exploit, they build, and they get rich. And there's plenty of people in our boomtown that have done that. And as they grasp and hustle, all of them recognize at a certain level that the resources are finite. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to work out that if you're digging for gold, at a certain point it's going to run out. We've seen it, we're seeing it currently with oil, and in our instance, that resource is data. And if there's one thing we know about resources, it looks like they'll last forever, and the amazing thing is we can even convince ourselves, you can even convince investors, your friends, employees, that they're going to last forever. And we're currently viewing data as infinite. We've all convinced ourselves that we can establish businesses and that we're going to be able to use other people's data for eternity. Data is just LA's oil well endlessly spewing forth, right? 100% of the FTSE 100 companies are relying increasingly on data to run their businesses. And there's one thing that I'm 100% sure of, is that when the data is about me, my family, and my every move, I no longer want to be seen as the citizen and the resource. Do you? I don't imagine anybody does when you look at it in that context. So as a prospector or pioneer in this town, do you see yourselves as a citizen? Do we look at it as this is the thing that we're building collectively? A very simple question that we ask a lot of people is, can you name your favorite website? Now, if you take the news sites, perhaps not Facebook, but if you take the majority of the good news sites out of the picture, can you name your favorite website, the place where you really enjoy spending time? Most people can't, but we can in the offline world. I'm sure here in Berlin you'd be able to say, oh, I love those stores, APC, Manufactum, Soto, all those stores I love spending time in. And why is that? What is it about the offline world that we appreciate so much that we've failed to create in the online world? Now, a simple hint could be that when you're in a store and you pick up a pair of sneakers, the shop assistant will not follow you down the high street with the pair of sneakers that you set back. It might be that you don't have to hand over your data just simply when you walk into the store or when you exit. I principally believe that beyond coding, servers, and transatlantic pipelines, trust is the infrastructure of the web, as it is in any relationship, as it is in LA or any other city. But because of our endless data mining, we are collectively destroying that trust. because endless mining always has an effect. And if we just consider life for a moment as a citizen in the city, as we move through our city, and we think about, do we really enjoy giving away our data at every juncture? Agreeing to terms and conditions, sign-ups, and allowing for our lives to be tracked? If we don't, then why are we building businesses that do? It's very simple. It's because commerce has become both the driving force and our governing body. And the oligarchies are dictating what we do and how we do it. It is like some sort of digital Stockholm syndrome that we've accepted that we don't need to be treated decently online. We segregate the online from the offline when we've set completely different codes of conduct. What we do online, we can break all the rules, we can not treat people with humanity, we can not treat them with dignity, but offline, God no, if I go into a shop and someone was to follow me down the high street with a pair of sneakers, would I be pissed? The ecological effect of our data mining is that people are losing trust. And as a result, they're looking for ways to protect their data. We're seeing more and more prepaid credit cards, VPN, blockchain, app blockers, and all these tools are being utilized by millions of people in an attempt to retain some privacy, just a little bit of privacy, to retain some control. Even the New York Times is reporting that 11% on 600 million devices are utilizing some sort of app blocking software. And 1 in 2 Americans claim to use private browsing. So it's obvious that the internet, as it was first intended, is vastly different from what it is today. The original intentions were not to create a place of distrust run by a very elite few. This all sounds like doom and gloom, right? I don't believe it is doom and gloom, because I think we can just take some very simple learnings from the offline world and apply them to the online. The internet could follow in the footsteps of Los Angeles. So instead of tearing it down and having to rebuild neighborhood by neighborhood and allowing it to sprawl, we could just simply learn from the mistakes from some of the bigger cities that we've all experienced. Like me, over time, things can improve. And what we're seeing in LA, I don't know how many of you have been there, but if you get the chance to go there today, it's vastly different from the city that it was 20 years ago. People, urban professionals in LA, are demanding the city back. They're demanding walkable spaces. There's less single-family homes. There's better architecture, public space. There's even a train now. Chrysler and General Motors have ripped out all of the infrastructure in LA in the 50s and 60s, and finally we're actually getting transportation back. It's really simple. We here need to understand that data is a finite resource. The industry needs to understand that. Well, that's us again. And then the media needs to highlight it. Pretty simple. And then we just need to change our approach. And all we need to do is to re-inject a little bit of trust, the kind of trust that we expect every day in the offline world, online. And even though I look grumpy and a little bit serious, I'm actually super hopeful, because I think it's super, super simple. And it starts with just accepting that you and I are just citizens, and deciding whether you also then want to be a pioneer or a prospector. I'd urge you to be a pioneer. And the simple thing is, you don't have to be Tim Berners-Lee, and you don't have to have started this 25 years ago. You can start it today. We were late. So the company that we started is a company called WeTransfer, and we started it only in 2009. And it was founded on some really simple guidelines. I don't know how many of you have used it, but it's incredibly simple. There's no sign-up. There's no banner advertising. We hated banners. We wanted to try and create a really clean, sexy, interesting experience. We have a lean data policy. We have no pop-ups, no spam. And today, we're being upheld as examples of best practice. In 2009, people thought we were idiots. And the most amazing thing is that what we're doing are basically the same things that you expect in the offline world, online. Combined with a belief that it's all about people, it's people first, creativity second, and then technology third. And that doesn't mean that we place technology way down the line. It means that we need great people, and we need to give them space to produce great technology, but it's all about people first. Something else that we do that we did intrinsically since the beginning was we only sell 70% of our advertising space, and 30% of it we give away. We give it away to people in the creative industry, the arts, to support charities, organizations. The idea is that people use our platform and they discover stuff. And this year we've given away more than 5 billion ad impressions in just showcasing the arts. And because of these simple things, we've got a net promoter score that's off the charts, 87%. You and I need to care for this construction that we've made, that we're making, and that we're part of. And much of that comes down to a very simple choice. If you accept that you live here in this boomtown, it's got to be worth fighting for. And we can demand a better city, neighborhood by neighborhood. And if we don't like what's being asked of us, we can demand that it's changed. There's no one else going to do it for you. If we don't appreciate the ISPs selling our data, a very topical thing today, there's a big push today against the ISPs in the US, if any of you are interested in supporting it. We need to tell them. At the moment, we have to cover up our laptop cameras with sticky tape. I really think we need to take control. This city that we've built and continue to build together does not have to resemble what we've seen before. If we just stop differentiating the offline from the online and apply the same human values to both worlds without differentiating them, we can together create an amazing cityscape for future generations, for your kids, for my kids, for everybody. Tim Berners-Lee said this thing 25 years ago: the web as I envisioned it, we've still not yet seen. The future is still so much bigger than the past. It's down to us. Thank you.